Hello everyone, Happy New Year! Welcome to today's Novedge webinar. Start the new year right with Artlantis 2019. Artlantis 2019 is the latest version of Abvent's standalone rendering and VR imaging application. Developed especially for architects and designers, and Artlantis boasts a number of new features elevating your architectural visualization to new heights. Stick around to discover Artlantis 2019. Today's webinar presenter, Ildiko Szabo, is an architect by training and has been a member of the Abvent team since 2001. Over the years, she has acquired vast experience in architectural visualization in general. She has followed the evolution of software technologies and welcomed new solutions like Twinmotion. Let me tell you a little bit about Novedge. Novedge is one of the largest online stores for design software. We have a huge assortment of software solutions that cater to virtually every designer's need. Put us to the test in this 2019 and visit our webpage at novedge.com. And for more daily software news and promotions, you can always follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. Last but not least, today's webinar is free and will be recorded. So if you want to watch it again, go on Vimeo or YouTube and search for Novedge. And now it's time for me to be quiet and let Ildiko do all the talking. Take it away, Ildiko.
Okay, here I am. I hope you can see my screen.
Perfectly.
Hear my voice. And I'm ready to start the presentation with a brand new Artlantis 2019 at the beginning of this year, 2019. So I wish you, everybody, Happy New Year from my side too. So let me start by introducing you, first of all, the building I will use for this presentation to present Artlantis. This is a building, a family house, in fact, called Maison Curti. It's a family house in France, conceived, designed by Archipont and built by Lignatec. The particularity of this house is that it's a complete wooden structure. It's a house made on wood. So let me switch to Artlantis. Here you have the same house that is in a beautiful environment. So anybody just sitting on this terrace can admire this landscape. Magnificent mountains are surrounding the house. So here it is, our building that helps us to generate presentation. And first of all, to speak about features, new features of Artlantis 2019. So my presentation will focus on the novelties first of all. So the first and very important novelty is the name change. And what is behind this name change? Because so far we always said that Artlantis is a product line composed by Artlantis Render and Artlantis Studio. Now these two products were merged together into one single product, which is called Artlantis 2019 and groups all the power of these two applications. What makes it different, let's say, is this little list we can roll down with the different presentation types we can do. And here we will find all presentation types, starting from perspectives, parallel views, panoramas, VR objects, and animations. You may note a new inspector called Insertions, because the site insertion tool was reworked again. It got a separate independent palette as an inspector, so it will have its own content. I will present it to you later on. So this is Artlantis 2019, so let's see what are the novelties it brings to us. Each version has a core feature, something that developers are focusing to it, and this time it was the catalog, it was the library of Atlantis and the content of this library. So let me open the catalog first of all. Let me enlarge this little window and I start to browse it. This is the basic library. And what I'm browsing here is the standard library of Artlantis 2019. So I will enlarge it even more. So open it in a separate window to let you see more of this content. And just to repeat, let me repeat that this is the content of the standard basic library. So whenever you download the trial version, the fully functional trial version for 30 days, that it will be the content you will have access to. So this is the content of the library, of the default library of Atlantis whenever you decide to purchase Atlantis. This means that altogether we have about 1,000 library parts, which is an improvement with 40% compared to the previous version. So let me compare it. I have some slide, I prepared some slide to show you the difference between the library, the standard library content of Atlantis 7 and Atlantis 2019. This is the basic library content. And it's obvious that the number of shaders, for example, was increased with about 200 additional shaders were added to the catalog. Natural shaders, so only a few ones were emphasized by the library of Atlantis 7, and now we have much more. And the biggest novelty of this library content, the new one I mean, is the 3D grass shaders, the so much anticipated 3D grass. Now it's part of Atlantis and it's featured by a shader we will find in this shader category featuring natural surfaces. Of course, I will show you more about it later on. The difference of the content is obvious when it's about the cars. High quality modern car types was in Atlantis 7. The same are in Atlantis 2019, but they are much more, of course. There is a small old-timer, and there are different type of vehicles even helping us to make a richer presentation, starting with the standard library part. The vegetation also was improved and enhanced in number. So all this was about the quantity. So a 40% improvement in quantity compared to the previous version. And of course, there is a big improvement in terms of quality as well, and we should speak about that too. So this rendering was done with the help of the 3D vegetation of the new standard library of Atlantis 2019. So trees, plants, which are able to behave separately in different seasons, make this interesting combination in colors, very vivid, colorful, and lifelike scene can be combined with it. So let's see what Atlantis provides to us and how does it work. So I'm going back to Atlantis. I will close this window of the catalog. However, I will keep it open, the catalog at the down style, and choose a different scene, the scene of the terrace, and open a category with some shaders we can map on surfaces like this terrace, and open the inspector of shaders. And of course, to apply the shader, it's a simple drag and drop. It is mapped on the surface. I can do a different shader. The quality of the shader is the most important here, because if we check the inspector, Nothing has changed. The settings are the same, and there are no extra settings to see. But the quality of the shader was reworked, and now they are much more realistic and look better in our rendering. Only those shaders were subject of this, how to say, development job, which have a texture map for the diffuse. It means that all those shaders being a combination of colors, so the so-called procedural shaders like the glass material or the basic shaders, or think at a certain aluminum or whatever, those weren't changed. Only those having texture maps for the diffuse, and of course different combination of textures to generate different maps and generate different settings. Those were reworked for this version of Atlantis. And after presenting a little bit the shaders, the next topic will be about the trees. And I will open up now the catalog, the library, the standard library of plants, and open the inspector of objects. So whenever I'm dragging and dropping into the scene an object, the inspector will feature the settings, and the same, these features didn't change at all, because the object itself was reworked, and it is now more lifelike, more realistic. So I can add simply these trees, or I can add even people, enhance quantity and quality. The section with people, the same. And the people are now high quality, nice persons belonging to the AXYZ. Just trying to find a camera view where we have a closer look at this lady to show you the way she looks, her geometry, the textures mapping with the lady. It's a nice person that looks realistic in our scenes. So this is about the content, about the library parts one by one. And now let me show you a feature that also is linked to the object, to the way these objects can be distributed in a scene. For this reason, I will open the 2D window and show you the feature that is about this distributing the objects, called populate. It's a icon that should be activated first of all, and when it's activated, a list of icons will appear below this feature. So what shall I distribute for this scene? Some plants first of all. So let me go into the plants section of my library and search for some pine trees. These are more appropriate for this region. Select from my library, create a new selection. So here it is, my selection with these two plants, and with the help of the populate tool, I have multiple possibilities to distribute these objects in my scene. The first one is a finger. Let's choose this. It means that wherever I'm pointing, one of the selected items will be added to the scene. I have the possibility to generate a spline. The spline is a curved line that I can edit, and then I can follow whatever path I would like, along which I can distribute these objects. I can have a rectangle, oval. Let's go for this shape that can be edited, changed. Now I'm looking for a shape like this, positioned in this way. inside which Artlantis already suggests me a number of copies. I can add more copies to this. These blue crosses are representing the objects I'm adding to the scene. And if the distribution doesn't suit me, then I have a dice. I can reorganize them and click OK. Let's go. And here are the plants appearing in my list. Okay, let's delete the one is not set correctly. So this is the populate tool of Artlantis. You can use it to distribute whatever object you wish in your scenes. And now the so-called 3D grass, which is part of the category of shaders featuring natural surfaces. Here there are the 6 different types of grass we can map on any type of surface. Let me show you the way they look in a final rendering. So here are the 6 different grass types rendered separately. You can notice that the height of the grass is different. Because there are different type of grass, you can name it, the color and the shape and so forth, so the type of it. When you drag and drop it over a surface, you will be able to manage the height of the grass, so two settings only, the height and the kind of fall off. Depending on the distance from the camera, you can simplify with this fall off the calculation of the grass. So it's very simple. The reason why I'm showing you renderings with this 3D grass is that they cannot be displayed in the preview window. They cannot be previewed actually. Whenever you drop it over a surface, you will see even color, nothing more. Just to spare computer power, we decided not to show the 3D grass in the preview. So therefore, the preview will keep the speed of refreshment. However, in the final rendering, you will see the grass nicely calculated, like in this scene. Here is another example with this 3D grass in the courtyard, close to the camera in front of the building. So the 3D grass has its own role whenever we need some details in front of the camera. This is to avoid to put it on large surfaces that can even charge too much the calculation afterwards. But whenever we would like to emphasize something and to have nice details, like as you can see the border of the swimming pool, if you take a look at the leaves of the grass, how nicely they mask the border of the pool, or how the leg of this chair disappears in the lawn. So it really is a very realistic, nice feature that provides finally the mostly expected, anticipated 3D grass and the way it was anticipated. So we are really happy to present you this 3D grass. And if you take a look at this rendering, the whole plants are coming from the standard library of Atlantis. Maybe you remember those lime trees, which had very whitish leaves. They were too shiny even. They also are part of the standard library, but in this reworked format. The flowers, the different plants here and there are coming from this standard library. So you are welcome to use it to set up nice scenes for yourself. And with this, I'm closing this big chapter around the catalog. So we spoke about the quantity of the catalog and the quality of the objects, and even about the feature, how to distribute these objects in our scenes. And now let me continue with another feature that can be also understood only through a rendering. And this is the exposure feature, this camera setting, this Atlantis camera setting, the so-called exposure, which means the automatic adjustment of the camera. This is a rendering done in Atlantis 7. So whenever we had this automatic adjustment chosen for the camera setting, there was a very important color blading, which made our scenes a bit dim, meaning that the colors were vanished in a way, was washed all together because this blading. So being reworked this feature, the result we can see, because there is no extra button on the interface of Atlantis, the same function will generate different result. And now I'm switching to the rendering done in Atlantis 2019 with the exposure feature. As you can note, exactly the same scene, exactly with the same setting rendered in Atlantis 2019 with the new exposure settings will provide us a more realistic result where the colors are saturated and their tones are more lifelike, and therefore our scenes are have a better quality. So let me switch back again to, now you know what it's about, and maybe you have an idea and a better way to understand, you know what to look at now. Here is Atlantis 7, which is a bit dim compared to Atlantis 2019, where each surface having its own texture, the contrast of the image is more improved and it's more realistic. Okay, let me go back to Atlantis and continue the presentation with the so-called site insertion. So I'm rolling down this little list here, and among the presentation type, now I can choose site insertions. This is the name of this new inspector. I will close the catalog. I don't need it actually, because we will concentrate on the new reorganization of this existing tool in Atlantis, which is still about the same question. My little building, I work on it. I'm very anxious to make it in all its details nice and good and wow. However, the clients are very curious how this building will look like in its future site. And therefore, this site insertion tool of Atlantis would like to become even more handsome and easier to make these site insertions lighter for us. The inspector has some tools which can be retrieved on all inspectors. In fact, we can customize our insertions based on the light, to choose an existing sun type, artificial light, and so forth, activate, show, make it visible or not some layers, organizing objects, and activate the infinite ground. So far, we know. The new part of this is this inspector is this list of icons, from which the first one is active. And this is on purpose because developers and the conceivers of this interface would like us to follow a certain logic. And the first icon, we should start with it. And this icon will ask us for a background image. Let me browse my hard drive for a background, for a photo I took with my any camera, mobile device, telephone, whatever. It can be an average JPEG, and I need it entirely. We shouldn't crop it, because even the proportions of the image are taken into account. So let me apply it as in a background. Automatically, the adjustment, the proportions of my preview were stretched to the proportions of this background. So some automatism were added. So, and everything, every feature that so far we had to click separately, but now it's applied automatically, having its own separate inspector. It can become an automatism. We can still continue to work out the color of the brightness, I mean, of the background. And if my photo contains enough metadata, then this create heliodone icon turns active, and clicking on it, it will generate a new heliodone in my list of heliodones, which has the same position in the sky and hour of the day set automatically, like in my photo. So that makes also easier to let my model at the end exactly the same way as in my background photo. My possibilities in this palette dialog, I mean, are the next button and cancel. So I'm forced to go to the next tab. And the next step is to set the XYZ coordinate system in the preview. And to make it even more simple, there is a kind of net to position the origin point. At the same part, I can retrieve afterwards in the 2D window. And then, with the help of this net, I'm just trying to fix a kind of bounding box for my building over the perspective lines of this background. It was done. That's all. What shall I do? I shall continue. Next, the 2D window opens up automatically, where I also have the XYZ coordinate system. Let me get closer to the model. And what I shall do is to position it, rotate it exactly the same way as in my, okay, that's fine. As in my preview window, I have here clearly visible the XYZ axis. And of course, I have to check out the positioning of my coordinate system in all views, at least 2 views, to make sure that it's positioned at the same level, the origin and the rest are also fine. So the list of the dialogue helps me. If I'm lost, I should read those little explanations here. And what I also shall do is to choose an axis, helping me to scale my insertion. So here is the length of the facade. I can easily retrieve in all views. I will position it here. This is the 2D window. It's done. I can even close my window. And in the preview, I'm checking the same yellow dot, and then all is done. I continue with the next button, and automatically the positioning of my model starts. So the 2 coordinate systems are overlapped, and with the help of them, I can retrieve the position of the photographer and assign it to the Artlantis camera as well. If I want to fine-tune anything, I can mask the 3D model and I can make any change. I have already some perspective lines, helping me to fine-tune the position of the axis if I need, and then repositioning my model. If I consider that all is fine, I close the palette and the site insertion was completed. If I check the icons in the inspector, all of them are active now. I can go back to any of these palettes if I want to rework any details of it. And the last icon is active as well, which is about the foreground. So definitely I would need a foreground because some elements like these cars are cut. Browse and choose a foreground which was prepared based on the background with alpha channel. I apply it in front of my building, click OK, and this is the last step to do for my site insertion. So it's easy like this, and these steps I have to follow will guide me through the necessary settings I have to do. And as you see, having independent inspectors, some elements turn automatic, so I don't need, with less clicks, I can achieve nice results. So this was the last feature to show you. Let me go back to my slides and introduce to you to our signature building. This is a building which was designed by Xyz Architects, and is a building in Strasbourg, France. It's under construction actually, and this is how it looks like now in the construction field. The particularity of this building is that it's a completely wooden house. All the structure is in wood. Only the staircase have concrete elements, and the ground floor is in concrete. All the rest is in wood. Apparently, this Atlantis 2019 is under the sign of a wood constructions because the building I used for the demo is also in wood. And because this building is not finished yet, we might do a site insertion actually with the help of this new site insertion. And this is how the building will look like when it will be finished. So this is the last rendering. I would like to show you a nice presentation you can also see on our website. I encourage you to visit our website to download the trial version of Artlantis, which is a fully functional version during 30 days. You can check out, you can create presentation, and you have access to all the new library parts, the reworked, the enhanced and enlarged content of the catalog. I wish you a very pleasant year with the new Artlantis 2019. So I give back the speech to Barbara.
Thank you, Ildiko. Thank you so much. We're going to stick around for a few more minutes just to see if we have any questions coming in for you. So don't be shy. We're here for you. So take advantage of this interaction that you don't get, just by browsing on tutorials on the internet. This is the real thing. So that looks great. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take the screen back so we can be ready for questions, and also I'll be ready to wrap the webinar up. In the meantime, okay, one question. How can the newer rendering get softer? And I think what Nick means is less, you know what I mean? What he means?
Softer. I'm curious.
He's talking about the bathroom model that you shown before. I think he's hinting at something less I don't know, more real, more soft, less sharp and plasticky maybe, more
Yeah,
less
you have a
that,
kind.
yeah.
Yeah, let's see, softer. I find already this rendering very nice and realistic. So we are always looking to have a realistic. Yes, just this is the rendering. You can also see on screen website. I mean, it's already a nice rendering. Whenever you have, there is a post-process feature. We have, just let me go back to the perspective views and choose other view. Okay, the post-process palette is here. You can open, and there is a kind of depth of fields just to blur. Maybe this is the question, because everything is very clearly visible, even at a long distance. However, in reality, because the air is not so clear all the time. There is particles in the air, so it will mask, it will make dim some parts of the view we have. So this is the kind of depth of fields feature we can use from inside Atlantis as well. Or you can render Photoshop format and use the Z buffer layer to generate this gradient for your scenes, to make it less clear, to blur it a bit. I hope I could answer your question.
I think so. And he says, yes, maybe the bathroom rendering needed the glow feature together with the DOF aspect to make it less harsh. And you answer perfectly. That's what Nick says. Cool. Thank you, Nick, for your feedback. Feedback is always priceless in any of these live interaction. That's what we're here for. I also, while we wait, we're here for any other question. But I also want to thank you for attending, and I want to make sure you see what our product page looks like for Atlantis 2019. So go to novedge.com, then you search for Atlantis, and you see the product, you see all the specification, you see the option for upgrades, and also you can download directly from here. So give it a try. It's free, and enjoy before you make an important decision to purchase. I think it's very important to try the download. And I want to remind you that we're also on Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Instagram, if you want to get the latest new and promotion for all the 3D software that you might need. And I've just recorded the presentation. If you want to watch it again, just come on over on YouTube or Vimeo. Thanks again, Ildiko, today. Great presentation. We got great feedback throughout. Everybody's very pleased and maybe looking forward to give Artlantis 2019 a try. Have a great rest of 2019, everybody, and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.